What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Flip Side, a Get Your Teach On podcast, where we break down, share, and challenge flip perspectives and insights on different hot topics in education. Today's episode is a good one. One of my favorite people, and also our 2024 Gold Star Teacher of the Year, Emily Atkins, is here. This is going to get spicy because I think our audience is going to really relate to this topic. Today's topic is rockstar teachers, thriving or hiding, and what comes with being a rock star on your campus, going all out for your students, and what does that look like with your coworkers, lessons, all the things in between. So we're so excited to have Emily here on the Flip Side couch, so let's get into it. All right, we are into the school year 2025, and it's time to beat the clock. So for today's icebreaker, I need you all to, everyone have their phone? Yes? Okay. Open up your stopwatch on your phone.
Okay.
And when I say go, each of you, we're going to have to close our eyes, and we're going to go one by one, and you're going to have to start and stop your stopwatch. Closest to 3 seconds wins. Okay? Closest to 3 seconds wins. So, Wade, we need a close-up on Wade. Okay, point it to the camera. Point your thing to the camera so we can see it. There you go. Okay, close your eyes. Close your eyes.
I just gotta make sure I can.
Okay, yeah. Okay, but then close your eyes before you start it.
Okay.
And then say go when you're gonna start, and then stop it when you need to.
You say go.
Okay, ready? Go.
Oh, that was terrible.
It stopped. Closest to 3 seconds.
You surely did not think that was 3 seconds.
What?
I thought it would be delayed.
What?
This makes so much sense about you. Okay.
That was a joke. You're really joking us.
I feel good.
I need you to try it again.
I think he's serious. I
I
don't
need
know.
you to try it again.
Have another go.
Do it again. That's ridiculous.
For those of you who are not watching on YouTube,
That is
literally,
ridiculous.
He's supposed to
It was
stop in 3
0.16.
seconds. He pressed start and he pressed stop immediately.
1.16. Okay, here we go. Ready?
World.
Go.
Wait, no. Okay, ready?
No,
Go.
you don't tell him when to go. He decides when
No,
to
no,
go.
Okay.
because if he says go, it delays my time.
So you just
So you
start.
just
Just
do it.
start.
Go.
Oh, he's special. He's special.
count.
0.58 for the if you're watching on Spotify. Closest to 3.
count.
Oh my goodness. Okay,
Oh my
Hope, are you ready?
gosh.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me clean my phone. Okay, let's see. Hope, let's see. Okay, there we go. Ready?
Go.
No, I'm telling
Yeah,
myself
she
when
starts
to go.
whenever
Thank you
she
very
wants,
much.
okay?
All right, here we go. Wait, it's actually harder than you think.
1.66.
Okay, I'm gonna try. I've got it.
1.66.
He got 2 times, so I get
'Kay.
2 times. Okay. It's the holding it. I don't want to hold it like that one. Hold it like
It's,
this.
yeah,
Okay.
I know. It's a bit.
All right, here we go.
Close your eyes.
And then I'll show you what it was. Okay, here we go. I still thought I was going so slow, and it was
What is it?
2.25.
2.25. Okay.
2.25. I want this again
Okay.
with another time.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Let me see mine.
All right.
Okay, here's this. Okay.
Whatever. Whatever. His is 2.93.
9.3.
I want to try this.
That
again.
is great.
Okay,
I'll do
I
it
want
again.
another
Okay,
time.
all at the same time.
Okay,
All at the
wait,
same
what
time.
time are we trying to get?
Let's do 6 this time.
Okay, 6 seconds.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Everyone close your eyes.
Do we have? We just do it on our own though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we need like
I'll-
10
I'll
seconds
start
of
it.
silence.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
here we go.
And then just stay quiet when you get it.
Okay, everybody close your eyes and you can start whenever you're ready. Okay, I got mine.
Dang it.
Oh, you beat me.
I beat
I
you.
got 5.7,
I was
5.7,
5.73.
5.73,
Better.
You did better. At least
4.88.
it wasn't 0.18.
I did Mississippi too. Did you?
Oh my gosh.
How are you counting in your head?
1 Mississippi,
I'm going
2
bum,
Mississippi,
bum,
3.
bum, 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 bum,
You
bum,
would.
That is-
What in the
I'm dancing.
world? I've never
dun,
had
Dun.
that in my life.
dun, dun.
I did.
How do you know that's a second?
Huh?
How do you know that's a second?
Yeah.
I'm
Like-
picturing, I'm literally picturing this phone.
But like one
then a
Mississippi
dun,
is like
dun, dun.
actually a second.
It's not, obviously, because you were doing Mississippi the first time and it didn't work. So
No, I did not do it. I was just
that's
kidding.
ridiculous.
This is the
Because you can say Mississippi or you can say Mississippi.
No,
Same-
no, you
same
have
thing
to
with
say one
bum, 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 bum,
Mississippi,
bum, bum.
Mississippi,
Let's see if that
3
actually works. Okay, I'll
Mississippi.
try it right now.
Okay.
Let's break that thing. Ready?
What are you trying to get?
You're trying to go to 10. I'm gonna hit start
I'm
and you're
gonna
gonna
hit-
do your Mississippis.
Okay.
Okay, ready? Go.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi, 9 Mississippi, 10
And
Mississippi.
Stop.
12.98. So your theory is off. Mine is better.
were-
Bum ba da da ba da
Yes,
ba.
No.
Pot of
The
bull,
reason
right.
why you messed up is because you're trying to go with his rhythm. That he
Oh,
was
you're
doing.
right. I was.
You were singing.
I
it.
was singing.
You were singing it.
Okay, I think I got 2 rounds. You got 1. Clearly, the winner's me. Okay, here we go. Let's dive into today's episode of The Flip Side. Here we go. Emily Atkins in the house on the Flip Side couch, our 2024 Gold Star Teacher of the Year, everybody. But longtime friend of Get Your Teach On. So, Emily, why don't you introduce yourself? First of all, welcome to the Flip Side couch.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
We're so excited to have
Yeah.
you. Introduce yourself to everyone. Let them know who you are, where you're from, what you teach, all the things about Emily.
Yeah, so my name is Emily Atkins. I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, went to USC to be a teacher, and now I'm in my 6th year teaching.
University of South Carolina, right?
Yes,
Yep.
the real USC.
Okay.
So it's weird to say that it's my 6th year teaching. My first 2 years were COVID, so I don't really count those. They don't exist. We've just blocked them out. I've always wanted to be a teacher. I have 2 younger sisters, so I kind of trained myself to be a
Yes,
teacher
that's the
starting
way
off
to do it.
really early. So we would play school and I would direct the plays that we were putting on and all kinds of things like that. So I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. I just didn't know where I wanted to be a teacher and why not live in Charleston, South
Hey,
Carolina.
yes.
So
Come
I
on.
just kind of boogied my way closer to the coast. And it took me a little bit to find where I could thrive. And I absolutely love my school. And I love teaching, which I feel like is something I like to tell people
Yes,
because
please.
it's so hard
There
to find.
needs to be more people talking about that.
positivity.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so hard to, I mean, and you guys have talked about social media on here before, and it's so hard to like find the positives in social media when it comes to teaching. So I always like to be like, I love teaching.
By the way,
By the way,
P.S. I
love teaching. I love my job. And I feel like everyone goes through phases where you're like, oh, what else could I be doing? And I'm like, nothing. I don't think I've passed my time of being a Disney princess. So like, there's nothing else.
We did
that
a
I
whole
would want
episode
to
just
do.
on that.
There's nothing else that I would want to do that would like check all of the boxes.
What's your backup career? Disney princess.
Yeah, I'm too old for that, unfortunately, which is sad. But yeah, that's pretty much me.
I love that. I feel like you're my soul sister because my younger brother always says that you're my least favorite and favorite teacher because I did the same exact thing of like forcing him every like 6-hour school days, 7-hour school days. I always say my neighbor across the street, she actually became a teacher as well. But we forced my brother to play school like we were doing departmentalization before it was cool. I taught ELA, she taught math. He would have homework, like all the things. So when you said that, I was like, that I think so many people can relate to that.
Yes.
And shout out to our younger
And now he
siblings
tries to
who
do
are,
that with
like,
Maverick.
Poor
literally-
Nicholas.
Yeah, exactly. Poor Nicholas is right. But hey, he was reading by kindergarten, so teacher of the year. Okay, there we go. But I love that. But I love that you said that you love teaching because that kind of inspired this episode. And what really it's about is those rock star teachers who love teaching what they do. Obviously, teachers got into this profession because they wanted to make a difference. They love it. But I think with everything external and like you mentioned, social media, which we have talked about quite a few times on here, it is hard to find people that are still celebrating the profession, that are still shouting out
Or that feel
all
like
the
they
incredible
can.
things, or feeling that they can, right?
Yeah.
They feel like there's so many things restricting them. So we're going to get into kind of all the things of what it means to kind of love this profession and showing up as your authentic self in your class and what you do. But first I want to talk about Gold Star Teacher of the Year 2024. So if you're not familiar with Get Your Teach On's Gold Star Teacher of the Year, it's a program that we do every year where we open it up to nominations throughout the country for rock star teachers that can be nominated by parents, colleagues, coworkers, students even have nominated their teacher, all the things. And from thousands of nominations, it narrows down to a top 25. Emily was in our top 25 this year. Then it narrows down to a top 10. Emily was in the top 10. Then it now narrowed down to a top 3 at our national conference. Emily was in our top 3. And my parents got to really get close to Emily working as Magic Squad this summer. And I will never forget the moment when you made top 3. You were sitting next to my dad, and he had
My
no
favorite
idea,
picture.
obviously. Yeah, exactly. And the photographer just might have been there. And you turned to my dad, and I'm staring as I announce your name, and you're like, that's me. He's like, that's you. A moment I will never forget. So you were top 3 and then announced as our 2024 Teacher of the Year, selected by a group of sponsors, leaders, teacher leaders, former Gold Star Teachers of the Year. So it's a massive committee that makes that decision. So take us back to that moment a little bit so people can kind of be in the room if they weren't there at Nationals. You can also watch the video on YouTube of Emily winning, but talk about that and what it meant just to kind of go through that process and then be announced as Get Your Teach On's Gold Star Teacher of the Year, because I think it's an amazing thing.
I'm still on cloud 9 with it. I used it as my fun fact at the beginning of the school year. I was like, guess what, everybody? My goal was kind of just to make it to the top 25 because there are so many amazing teachers out there. And then when you guys announced the top 25, I'm videotaping for somebody else because they couldn't watch it. So I'm recording for her and the whole camera starts shaking because I'm so excited about it. And so that was really my goal. And so then every step after that was kind of just
toppings on the
it was let's put all of the sprinkles on is what it was. And so then to get to the top 11, I had absolutely no even thought that would have happened. And then when we were all sitting there before you announced the top 3, I'm congratulating the people sitting next to me and talking to the girls behind. So then when you said my name, that's when I looked at your dad. I was like, that was me. I was like, that's my name. He's like, yeah, go. I'm
Get up there.
Okay. And so then I'm just having such a good time, celebrating other teachers. And then the 2 other girls that were with me are such incredible teachers that all day, the following day, I was like, I'm so happy for them. I'm so happy that they are in the top 3. One of them's going to be such an amazing Gold Star teacher. There was not even the thought in my mind that I was winning. So all day I wasn't nervous. I wasn't thinking about oh, what are you going to say if you win? Because I was so happy for them. Now, again, that was not a thought that was coming into my mind. So then when you did say my name, my face in the video is just absolute shock because again, and then I don't remember anything that I said. So I'm glad it is on YouTube so I could go back and rewatch.
And then I blacked out, basically.
Yes, 100%.
But something that you said that we talk about often is celebrating each other and celebrating the incredible things that teachers are doing. And I think that's something that Gold Star capitalizes on. But something that happened at the conference that kind of inspired the topic of this episode was your principal, new principal, because you, and we'll talk about your kind of journey from different schools and different experiences in a second, but your current principal that at a school where you are thriving, love it, was there.
You did talk about her.
And you did talk about her. That was something you felt very comfortable with. And just kind of talk about what that meant for you, having your principal there and the way she celebrated you and kind of just being you and doing what you need to do for your students. And you can even tap into your previous experience here as well. But what did that mean when it came to just celebrating being the teacher that you are?
It was so nice having her be there, just because I feel like she is one of the reasons that I was able to get to where I am. And I don't think that I would have even been interested in Gold Star teacher if it wasn't for her. Because I've always wanted to be the Gold Star teacher, but it's really hard to find schools that want a Gold Star teacher and don't want someone that's just going to teach by the book. So it was so fun. It was so fun having her be there with me because I felt like she also deserved that award. So it was nice to have someone there to celebrate that I owe a lot of my teaching heart to. So
I remember just being on the stage and looking out, and there were a lot of people just clapping and clapping and clapping, but I didn't know who she was.
Yeah.
But she
and all of a sudden she was there.
I was like,
I was
like, that woman looks like a proud mom right now. And then I saw y'all make eye contact, and then that's when I ran out and grabbed her, brought her up.
It's funny that you say that because I had people message me that were like, I'm so happy your mom was there.
It really was.
I was like, that's not my mom.
That's how I noticed. I was like, that person, what is happening here? And so that's just really cool that, you were talking about how supportive she was, but she was demonstrating that without even just being a good human. Just clapping and all the things.
And I think, before we get into your journey, because I do think that's such an important part of this, I think we need to define, because we're using terms like Gold Star teacher, rock star teacher.
Yeah.
What is that? What is that to you guys in education? What is a rock star, quote unquote, rock star teacher? What does that mean?
I think at this point, and it might be kind of sad to say, but it's a teacher that tries. And I think that there are so many rock star teachers, and it could be like, oh, we went outside to read today. That's a rock star teacher moment. or like you did a full transformation. Like that's a rock star teacher moment. I don't think any of us are rock stars all the time. We all have I need you to take this quiz today because I actually need to get some sort of things done. So I think it's the teachers that really try and put in the effort and put in the heart that want to be rock stars for their kids. And they're not thinking about, oh, I want to be a rock star teacher. It's like, no, I want these kids to have like a rock star experience.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, where the difference is, maybe.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's more of like a mindset of if I am going to say, okay, that's a rock star moment or rock star teacher, it's you are doing everything you can to create the best possible experience for kids, whether big, whether small. The way I do it might be different than Emily or Hope or Wade, and it may look different, but I'm an advocate for the profession. I am sharing out the incredible things happening in education. I think a lot of time people might think they're top tier teacher, they're doing all these things, and then they're spewing all these negative things about education, or they're like, no, I'm just being real. Well, there's a very vast difference of being real and actually being negative towards the profession, and things like that. So I think there's a very misinterpreted vision of what that looks like for teachers. But if I think of past teachers that I've had, even as a student, the rockstar teachers are the ones that make me want to be in school every single day, that are shouting it from the rooftops how incredible these things are. And it's looked very different for kindergarten through high school. Like there's been different people that have stuck out to me as those teachers, but it's just that advocate for the profession, I think, and being unapologetically kind of you and what that works. And Wade always talks about being your authentic self. And I think that's a huge part of it. And what that impact is on your students.
Yeah. Well, the fact that Emily said, I think it's a teacher who tries. I was like,
So
almost
good.
like took the breath out of me, because I was like, the fact that we're even having to say that these days is highly concerning, because, you look at, and I know you've already brought up social media a lot, and the very first thing that you talked about, and not to make this a social media episode, and who knows, this episode may have to end up being 2 parts because there's just so much to unpack and talk about. But, even looking at social media, it is so sad to me, and it actually is infuriating to me, if I'm being honest. It's not even sad. Like, I'm moving to the furious part of it, of the fact that nowadays on social media, the things that are getting the most views when it comes to education, the podcasts that are getting the most views, the things that are selling, it's all negative. It's all about the bad things that are happening in education, even though people try to put like a funny spin on it, or I'm like, I get the sarcasm, but also this is such a delicate time in education that is that helping the situation. So then what it shifts to is, now I feel like we're in this day and age where it's like, no, teachers have to advocate for themselves, which I fully do not get it twisted. I fully support. Teachers have to work too hard. They have to work too many hours. There's so many things on their plate that should not be there. So I get the advocacy part, but what that's shifting into is the way that we're advocating is saying, I'm only going to my contracted hours. Nope, I'm only showing up when I have to be there.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not decorating my classroom because that takes more time for me. I get it, but that advocacy is turning into harming the educational experience for so many kids. So how do you advocate, and still be that rock star teacher? And I think it goes back to what you guys were talking about. It's the experience that you're giving kids. It's the moments that you're creating for them. It's the high expectations that you're holding. It's the results that you're getting. But for me, rock star teachers this day and age are the ones breaking the mold. They're the ones who saying, you know what, I'm not going to follow the rules because I know that I'm going to do this and it's going to get results. I'm not going to follow the rules. I'm going to show up, what you said, authentically as myself and do, number one, what is best for kids. Like that is, to me, that's what a rock star teacher does, is the teacher who chooses to break the mold, to go against the flow, to not be afraid, because so many teachers are afraid. The rock stars are not afraid to break the mold and say, nope, I'm going to step outside of my comfort zone. I'm going to do this, even though I could possibly get in trouble, even though XYZ. I just feel like there's so much fear that has shifted into advocacy that is shifting into negative school experiences for kids.
And I think it's that idea of pushing through and pushing on because it's what's best for your audience, which is your students. If you think of any other profession, literally any other profession, and there are so many other professions that are underappreciated, that are underpaid, that are all the things that we hear about teachers, if they didn't show up for their audience, like if my dad didn't show up when he was working for the railroad and they were fighting for whatever they wanted, better working conditions, better pay, whatever they're fighting for, if they didn't show up, there would be thousands and thousands of people that couldn't get to work because he was for trains, right? So if we're just saying, so if they just said, nope, you know what, I'm not going to do I'm just going to do the bare minimum, I'm not going to show up. that is going to drastically affect that. So that would never happen in any other profession. So for teachers, you can very easily show up and really not get anything done that is being proactive for learning, and you're still going to get your paycheck at the end because teachers have this mindset now, well, what are they going to do? Fire me? Who's going to replace me? And if those words have ever been a thing, like that's an issue, I think, because your audience is your students and that's who's depending on you. So yes, there are so many things in education that we cannot control, but you have to think of who is your audience and who is this for, and it's the kids primarily.
You're like your clients.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I think of when I walk in. I'm like, I have 13 clients in my
essentially.
room, which is another thing. Like, if you don't show up in any other job, like, someone else isn't going to take your clients for the day. But like, when teachers don't show up, like, your clients are dispersed into other people's rooms.
Yeah.
Because of the sub shortage, which is a totally different issue. But
And I mean, I want to be clear too, because I don't want people to think that we're stating that, because, so many people see Get Your Teach On, and there's only so much you can put, no matter how much we try to educate and how much we try to put out annual reports with the data and all the things. They see, a room transformation. I love that. I don't want people to think that we are identifying rock star teachers as those who do room transformation.
Absolutely. It's not even in
You
the
can be the most
definition.
rock star educator and have never decorated your classroom in a different theme one day your whole career. So I love that you said, it's kind of that mix of, there are rock star moments that we all have, or we do those special things, but that's not a day-to-day practice. So I do think it is a combination of the moments mixed with the mindset and how we're showing up consistently on a daily basis.
It's the effort.
Yeah.
I mean, you said try. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think you try on the good days and the bad days, as long as you're giving that
and
effort.
your kids know.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
They know, especially because my kids are 10.
Yeah.
they know, and they're very honest about it,
Yeah.
which is entertaining. That's why I like it.
Yeah. And I think it's hard to find people that are like that have the same mindset as you. And like we said, we're going to talk about your journey. But when we work in our Indiana schools, we have seen the power of when people are having those rock star moments as individuals, what that does for a full school. I'm specifically thinking of one of my schools, Spring Mill in Indiana, and we've had Calais, their principal, on here, and some of their teachers as well for our on-site. Individually, they are all rock star. They have rock star moments every day in their individual classrooms. Is it perfection every single time? No, that doesn't exist. They would never be the expectation and everything. But when you have that and that kind of all-in mentality for, we're doing this for the kids, it's about the kids. The kids deserve to have the best possible experience. That is powerful for the campus. That is powerful for results. That is powerful for their learning, because everyone is kind of going all in. Now, you've been at various different schools. And you've been very open on sharing this, so feel free to share whatever you want, where you felt like you weren't celebrated for being the rock star teacher you were, or taking risks, or maybe doing things different, or things like that. So talk about kind of your beginning experience where you did not find a place, because I think a lot of teachers can relate to that, especially in our audience. We see teachers all the time coming to Get Your Teach On. They're like, I just wish there was someone at my school who thought like me. And here I feel like I'm celebrated for being me, but a lot of teachers don't have a place that they feel like that is. So talk about your experience with that, where you kind of had to change who you were a bit, and kind of where that led you.
Well, I kind of compared myself, in Dance Moms, where they called Kendall and her mom studio hoppers. I kind of felt like I was a school hopper, because this is my 6th year teaching, but it is my 4th school.
Yeah.
Just because I knew that teaching was what I wanted to do. I was passionate about teaching, and I was not willing to give that up. But I really struggled to find a school that was not, or that was trying.
Yeah.
And all of the schools that I went to were ranked so highly on whatever that like niche.com is, or like Facebook had great reviews. I was so excited, and it let me down every time. And so my first 2 years were COVID, but I was at a school that was really far away. So I did love that school, but I didn't love driving an hour and 15 minutes to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I moved to a different school that I was really excited about. I was excited to have like a fresh start, a new team. And my partner teacher was really great, but didn't really want to push out of the box. And I didn't really understand why. And by October, I understood why. Most of the teachers at that school did not want to try. They loved I did this last year. I've done this for the past 20 years. Like, why change it if I already have it planned? And I was new, and it was the first time, like, since COVID, I could start doing fun things.
With humans again.
Yes, I could be, like, around kids. Like, the point of why I wanted to teach, I was now able to do again. So I really was struggling because my admin was not supportive. And it was very like, well, you're taking away from instructional time. I was like, well, no, I'm not, because if you see all of this, like, my kids are doing really well. And then, so that was October. I was like, ooh, I have a sour taste in my mouth already. So then in March, I did this whole room transformation for March Madness. We were working on force and motion in science. So my kids made little catapults, but I got little basketball ping pong balls and made their target a like big basket. And it was really cool. I had so much fun. We had so much fun. But as fifth graders do, they went home and said that they played with catapults and basketballs all day. So a parent called, and my principal called me into her office and was like, what a waste of instructional time.
Oh my gosh.
It's a good thing you're young enough that you could find a new career.
Oh my word.
The thing
How did
that
I
made
not know
it
this story?
the thing that made it the best, this is just like,
Oh my God.
the best part of it, I'm wearing a t-shirt that says made to teach as I'm in her office when she's like, maybe you should find a new career because you're just wasting time like playing with kids. And I was like, okay.
my.
There was no play there. This was my actual lesson.
I was like,
and it
this
was
is our
hands-on.
review.
Yeah.
And it was fun. And they made catapults. And like, yes, that's what they went home and said. But instead of giving my 12, 15 question assessment, like they now understood and wrote how the ping pong ball got
How
over
often
to
did
the
that?
other
Let me ask you
side.
this: how often did that principal come to your like?
The only time she stepped foot in my classroom was to sign my checkout form.
Okay.
When I
So
said I
she had
was
no
leaving.
clue what was
Not a
happening.
clue.
She had never been in your classroom
Not
before.
once.
Yeah, I knew it. As soon as you said, I was
Not
like,
once.
No way could she say that confidently.
No.
If she had been in your class,
I
or
was
even
like,
even
okay.
walk by your door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so at that point, that was March, because it was March Madness. I was like, I'm not coming back here. So I had friends at another school that were like, oh, we're going to have a fifth grade spot. Like, I'll put in a good word. But I was like so sad. And I was like, this is so sad. No one has ever said that to me before.
And,
It's always
and defeating
Yes.
when you're like, I love
No,
teaching.
I mean,
Okay, before you go on to your, before you go on, then what if she thinks that you were not made for teaching, which is so funny that you wore
I
that
was
shirt
like,
that day.
oh, how funny.
What do you think her definition of someone who was, what were the teachers doing that were made for
She
teaching?
doesn't know because she didn't observe it.
I
well.
understand, but I'm trying, I want to see.
I was
No,
kind of
there's no-
confused just because I think it was because I was doing things that were different.
out of the
and
norm, not the
out of
status quo.
Yeah. And I think that parents also weren't used to that. So the fact that somebody called, she was like, oh, just to cover my
Right.
own behind,
Yeah.
I'm going to say, like, you don't do this anymore.
Yeah.
So
What
I
was the
didn't.
what was the vibe of the school? Like what was the vibe of the teachers? Was it a happy culture? Were the kids happy? Like what was the vibe?
I mean, the kids were pretty happy. And it's hard to, like, I don't even remember at this point because I tried to block it out.
Yeah.
A lot of the teachers were very, like, I'm just trying to be done.
Oh.
Like, I just am I've been doing this for 20 years. I've got like 5 years left or whatever. That was very
That
much
copy
the
and paste
mindset. Yeah,
mentality
the
of we did this year.
Which when people say that, I want to be
I
like,
know.
then just quit now
Right.
because you're ruining
Yeah.
kids' lives for
No,
5
they're
years.
saving for
then.
retirement. They're saving
Oh
for.
my God.
They have to check out at that certain time to get their
Yeah.
retirement.
I know.
I think also, and something that you brought up that I think is important to note, you said that it was a very high performing school. And I think a lot of times when schools, based on test scores or something like that, are doing well,
Yeah.
people automatically think, oh, we need to keep doing what we're doing and copy and paste it. But I know some very high performing schools that are doing coloring sheets and watching clips of Disney movies and nothing instructional, nothing interactive for the kids.
Correct.
They're not actually learning. They're not doing anything hands-on. They're not
Yeah.
having experience, yet they're still high performing.
Well,
because
there's a difference between a good test taking student and a good learning student.
Correct. And they have a great family support at home. They were reading before they even started kindergarten a lot of the times at those high performing schools. And they come in and yeah, they look like they're doing fine. But what learning experience is that for kids? And are we pushing them to their full capacity?
Yeah.
No, they're just checking the box that it looks like we're doing. And I think a lot of times that messes with teachers because they have that copy and paste mentality. And they're like, oh, well, no, we've done this for 20 years and we're number 2 in the district. Great, you're number 2 in the district, but you could probably be number 2 in the state, or you can push kids this way because
Yeah.
there's no actually teaching or learning.
It is so true that some of the
happening.
highest performing schools have some of the worst instruction.
Correct, 100.
Like, yeah.
I think that's probably
is
the
true.
norm.
It is
Honestly,
true.
As we've traveled and seen a lot of schools,
Yeah.
a lot of the highest performing schools on like paper on testing is low quality instruction.
And
That's
do,
not to say
do
every
those
school,
kids want
but-
to go to school? No, they're there because they have to be there.
Right,
I mean,
and they have
that's-
a school is important mentality, which a lot of
Yep.
our
Yes.
Title I
Yeah.
schools or low income schools, where I have a lot of my experience, that it needs to be built, right? And that's when teachers are working their butts off a lot of the time. And that's not everywhere. There's not norm, but traditionally, I think when you see that copy and paste mentality, it's because they're like, Well, they're getting 100% on it. Well, if they're getting 100% on everything,
Then
or
something's
A's,
wrong.
Something is wrong. That's
Yeah,
not
that-
learning.
that
That's
part.
compliance, right?
Yeah.
That is just
Yeah.
compliance of things like that. Like if you ask me Britney Spears trivia, I already know that. So I'm going to get 100%. Like push me out of my box
Well, we like to do things we're
and
good
challenge
at.
me. Yeah.
And I feel like that's just as humans, you like to do things that you're good at. Students are not going to try on things that they are not good at. So I think a lot of teachers are like, oh, I'm going to do this because my kids will do it.
Yeah.
Instead of trying something else. The productive struggle, I feel like since COVID is kind of gone, kids don't like to struggle.
Yeah.
But we have to teach them that like struggling is okay
Because that's real life.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's real life.
Now, are we at your current school yet in your journey? Or
No.
There's one in between. Okay. I
So
thought
this is-
they were
I got
doing
a
more.
school.
I got another one.
Okay, so that was your first school?
That was the
school
second.
two.
That was
That
school
was
two.
COVID school
Yeah.
was one.
And I do want to point out too that I know you called yourself a school hopper. Listen, teachers take note. I think your journey is one of the most important journeys
Yep.
out there because I
Yes.
think it shows that you do not have to
Be
stay
stuck.
miserable. You do not have to be stuck. You are not forced to stay at any school that you can find happiness. So let's keep going.
Yeah, yeah. There's light at the end of this
Yeah.
tunnel.
There
I know how
is.
the story goes.
Let's
So-
keep going.
Okay,
Let's
so
keep
that was
going.
number 2. Now
Yes,
we're at
that was number 2.
Okay.
So I was just so sad. I needed something to be happy about. So I made a GoFundMe to go to Get Your Teach On in Orlando.
Oh,
so that
enter Get Your Teach On in
yes,
chat.
that's
Okay.
how they've come in.
Shout out, get your teacher.
Yeah, I love this
So
story.
I had
Okay.
already decided I wasn't going to go there. I was going to move to a new school. I was trying to fill my bucket with Get Your Teach On. I was like, I'm going to go in so happy into this school year. And then you ended up coming to my new school.
Yes, this is
And
school
I
number
was
3.
like, wow, this is just fabulous.
I know, and I remember I didn't even know Emily at the time. Maybe briefly on like social media or things like that. We had like seen each other, and we always ask when we go to schools, like, has anyone been to Get Your Teach On, just as a good intro to know like
I was like, me.
the room. And Emily was in the back corner, literally all by herself, and she's like, ah! This tiny little blonde girl is standing up, and everyone else is just staring at her like.
Yep.
What on earth?
And also
Is this,
nobody
like,
knew
beginning
who.
of- was this
Yeah,
beginning
it
of
was
school?
like the
Yeah,
first
it was
day
like
of
the first week
teachers
of school.
back.
Yeah.
So like
No one
nobody
knew.
knew. I knew you better
Yeah.
than I knew anybody else in that room.
Yes.
So I was
we
like,
had-
my friend.
We met only at the conference, and I was
Yep.
like, "Oh, Emily!" And I knew I was going to her school, and everyone else in the room kind of like just turned and stared at Emily, and I was like, "Oh, poor Emily!" Like I
was
just like
like,
felt
"Oopsies."
it in her room. They were like, everyone was like not interested in knowing what this was or things like
Yeah.
that. Okay, continue though.
So this is my new school, and I already had friends there, so like I felt so much better about it. My cup was full from going to Get Your Teach On. My admin seemed at this point very supportive. They loved the fact that I was sharing Get Your Teach On stuff. I wanted to present at like staff meetings. And I don't really know what flipped. Maybe it was because I tried getting Rock Your School to come, and lots of the school participated.
Yeah, oh, yeah. The teachers were like very excited.
Yeah, they
about
were
it.
excited
Like,
about
yeah.
it. And so it
Kids
was
in
like
school.
2 or 3 second grade teachers, a couple third grade teachers. I was the only one in 5th grade that participated, but oh well, I don't care. So I wanted to keep doing those things. And I also at this point was like trying a little bit more on social media because my teacher accounts I started during COVID as like a joke. Because my 5th graders were like, oh, there's no way you could get more followers on TikTok than me. And I was like, I accept the challenge. So it started as a joke, and then it kind of just kept growing. And it is so fun to like connect with people through that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that was maybe what my principal didn't like. And it was just like all of a sudden she kind of switched. And it was almost like when I didn't have yes to only offer her, because the whole beginning of the year I was like, yes, let me help you with this. Yes,
Yeah.
let me present with that. But when I kind of was like wanting to step back and do my own thing, and she was like, well, no, I don't really want to do that as a school. I'm like, okay, well, I want to do it in my classroom. She just kind of said no. And the first couple times I listened,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, that's not fun. But also like, why are you telling me no? And like, I know how well it does
Yeah.
Yeah.
with the kids and how excited they get. So after Christmas, I was kind of like, you know what? I'm going to start the year off fresh. I'm going to do some more fun things. I'm going to do some activities. And I got written up. Like, no question about it. Like, you didn't listen to the instructions that your administrator gave you. Like, I'm going to write you up with the district. And so I was like, okay, can I have a copy of that sent to my desk? Because I want to know exactly like
Yeah.
What it
Of
was.
course.
And I am a rule follower to a T. So sticking up for myself is very hard. And I'm like shaking. Can I please have a copy of that? Because I'd
Oh,
like to
no.
know what
And
I
think
did wrong.
that's true for a lot of teachers. Like,
Yeah,
you
I
want
do-
to follow the
yes.
rules and yet do what's best, what you
Yes.
think is best for
Yes.
kids. That's a very
So I
hard
wasn't
thing.
trying to like break any rules, and I made sure I read like all of the handbooks. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make sure I'm not messing anything up. Anything that I do social media wise, if it's during the school day, I have parent permission, but I never post students because that's just not
Yeah.
the point of my page or anything. So I stopped doing that. I made sure that anything I was doing was after contract hours. And then it was still like not okay, the things that I was doing in the room. So I stopped entirely with social media for like 6 months, but I still wanted to do fun things because that's what matters is the kids.
Right.
So I still wanted to do the fun transformations and the fun projects. And I had lots of observations after that. But again, I was getting written up. Did you know your students were using pens?
What?
And I'm
You
like,
got written up for that?
yeah. I'm like, yes, they're erasable pens, and that was their reward.
Was that like a school rule that you couldn't use a pen?
No. Students shouldn't be using pens when they're writing notes.
You got written up for that.
That is ridiculous.
And I was like, well, one, they're erasable. Two, that was their reward for the day.
Also, their 5th grade and middle school is not going to care. They just want to have some sort of writing utensil.
The fact that
and
they
that's
were
fine.
the fact that those kids were writing, I should
Like,
let
not-
I don't care if they're writing in popsicle.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
the fact that they're writing.
So
They're writing
then
in blood.
Literally.
I can't again. I blocked out some of the things that were happening, but it was like I would move my desks into a circle. And did you know that not all of your students were paying attention? I'm like, well, we were doing something different. Like they were paying attention, they were talking, but it was on topic.
You got
But,
written
like,
up for that too.
Yeah, like there was not whole group
How many
instruction.
times did you get written up?
A lot.
Oh my goodness.
A lot.
I didn't know this.
And then on top of that, we still would have staff meetings to be like, well, I did go into Miss Atkins' room, and I just want to make sure we're all aware that when students are taking notes, they shouldn't be using a pen.
said
She
your
called you
name?
out
And
in a
I was
staff
like,
meeting.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
in staff meetings.
that is not
So
nice.
again, I was like, I can't do this. I'm going to
I'd be
move
gone
schools
too.
again because for some reason this lady's out to get me.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I mean, I wish her well away from me. So
Well, way far away.
yes. So again, I was like, okay, I'm gonna maybe try to switch it up. Because all of this was public school. I was like, maybe I'll just dabble in private and see what's happening. So I found this incredible school that's project-based learning, and they're outdoor education focused. So my students spend just as much time outside as they do in the classroom, even when it's raining, which took a lot of adjusting for me, for my wet students to come back into my classroom. But at the end of that last school year, they're like giving out gifts or whatever, and it's like a fanny pack that has the school name on it. And she's like, you might miss us. And I said, no, thank you. And I left. I left and I didn't like that. You might miss us. And I honestly thought she was kidding, but she wasn't.
Oh.
And so now I found my new school, and somebody said it's like a rainbow magic unicorn school. And that's the best way to describe it because the students are happy. They encourage them to be kids. Like,
Yeah.
what school would you go to? If you went to any elementary school and saw a kid climbing in a tree, your first instinct would be, oh my God, get that kid out of a tree.
Yeah.
And at my school, it's like, look, I made it to the 4th branch. And you're like, yay, go you.
That is so cool.
And the 3rd grade's big project is they have a chicken coop. And so the 3rd graders take care of the
Nice.
chickens. They
Yeah.
sell the eggs at the farmer's market.
Wow.
It's like a real gung-ho.
And this is Charleston.
It's in Johns Island.
John's.
Okay, so you made it to your 4th school. You feel like this is like
Yes.
the best fit for you. Feel, and we're going to talk about like how the difference in how you feel. But what I want to stop right there because you did mention that you went from public to private.
Yes.
And I know that the listeners are automatically, many of them, because I would be maybe thinking this direction too, is okay, well, so I've got to go to a private school to find happiness. No.
Yes, I
That-
will say
You gotta
that's
find-
not.
You gotta find
Yeah.
your unicorn.
And I don't want that to be because I know it. We are in a mindset. It is a terrible mindset in education right now that I'm going to keep listening to the story. But the minute that you said private school, oh, that's why. Oh,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
Listen, I have traveled this nation. I have been in. I need to find a count of how many schools I've been in at this point because
Yeah.
the number is astronomical. And listen, there are a lot of really.
Oh, we need that little thing that like where the numbers flip as like.
We
it's
should.
just, like, it's just
All the
like,
schools
like
you've
people
been
do
in.
like their
There-
followers or something. It's just like classrooms visited, and it just like keeps ticking.
There are a lot of schools that I'm very sad for those kids that I would
Yeah.
never work in. I'm just going to be very honest with you.
Same.
I would, there would be no amount of teacher salary increase that you could pay me to work there.
Heck no.
However,
Correct.
I've also been on a lot of campuses where it is magical. The teachers are happy. They love their
Where they
job.
do have chicken coops and those things.
As yes,
Yeah,
and
we
it
were
is
just at
public
one.
school. So I don't want a label to define the school culture because a label just simply defines how you get funding. And yes, but listen, funding doesn't lead to happiness necessarily.
not
That
yet,
is not.
not
it's
I
yet.
just
also
like
would say
money
that like the
leading to
public
happiness.
schools that I went into were honestly like ranked more.
Yeah.
They seemed more
Yes.
private than the
Correct.
private school
I
that
agree.
I'm in.
I agree.
Have
The-
and most of the time have more resources.
When I went to
Yeah.
your
That's
school,
very true.
when I went to your school number 3, we'll just call them by numbers at this point, the one where they give you the fanny pack that we won't speak of. But when I went to that school, it had very much private school vibes because of the students that you're serving, where you're at, the teachers there.
It was just a high income
It-
community.
It was
Yeah.
very much, and I think they operate in that mindset of that compared to your school now, where you see more of diversity, you see more of students in different levels, you see more teachers of different experiences coming together. So I do not think, like Hope said, the label matters at all.
Yeah.
I think you just have to find your unicorn. For me, I had the opposite experience. I taught in Harlem at a charter school, learned so much, but it was not my unicorn like I thought it was. They were very constraining on what I could and could not do, days that I could and could not be away, or things like that. My unicorn was my Title I school, public school. So like you have to find your unicorn that fits your needs as a teacher,
Yeah.
celebrates you as a teacher, number one, and 3, you feel like is doing what's best for kids, and you're seeing results is the number one.
And I think this is also important is that, I saw a shirt the other day that says grass is greener where you choose to water it.
Oh, love it.
Choose the place where you want to water the grass. And
Yeah.
if you don't want to water that grass, then you shouldn't be there. But it doesn't mean the grass is always greener on the other side. And the reason I bring up that whole private public conversation is because when I'm at certain schools, I will post things, I will highlight things, I will, and there's certain schools that I go to that I'm not posting a thing other than, oh, sweet Lord. But I remember it was Rocker School. We went to Madison Station. We had been there. I've talked about this on an episode before, not this very concept, but I posted about how we went into every classroom, how every teacher was doing, a specific lesson. They had team collaborated. Like it was a public school. The amount of messages that I got in is this private?
Yeah,
Oh, is this
everyone,
private?
everyone.
Oh, is this private? No, wake up.
Yeah.
Like, wake up
Yes.
and get
Really?
outside of your bubble and start looking for your unicorn.
Yeah.
And your unicorn doesn't mean, and I love that you brought up your Title I school. For
Yeah.
me, my unicorn was my Title I school,
Yeah.
right? And I would love to rewind the clock and be able to go back there any second of any day and have that experience again. But it's about finding your unicorn and stop staying at a school that you are miserable at. And that's exactly what I responded to those teachers because they said, oh, it's so nice to see a happy school. And I said, why can't you have one?
Right.
Oh, well, my school's not like that. Find a new school.
Do you know how
Like,
many schools
find a
there are
new
in this
school.
nation? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that you kind of have this mentality, like the kangaroo mentality of hopping everywhere. Because if you didn't do that, you would still be stuck at, school number 1, I'm not counting because of COVID and that, but you would still be stuck in a place where you felt like you couldn't do what you wanted, you weren't seeing results with your kids, you weren't happy. And if you're not happy and you're showing up every day and you're focusing on the negative, that's going right to your students. You can say, oh, I fake it for them as much as possible.
Whatever.
They
Impossible.
know.
You're human.
That's
You're
right.
human.
You would definitely not be saying, I want everybody to know in this world that I love teaching.
Yeah.
That's definitely
You would
not
not
what
have
you
that
would
No,
mentality
that's
right
not
now.
it.
And I have seen so many people through the years because I've been on social media now since the dinosaurs. I mean, practically, we won't even go back into second grade shenanigans in the blog. But I've seen so many people that I have followed on social media who, when I first got to know them, they loved teaching. They were you. I love teaching. They never left their schools. They never found new places to go. And post-COVID, through the years, they've just gotten more and more miserable with every passing year. And now they're the people who are talking about how bad education is. And I'm like, is it education bad, or did you just stay stagnant and you just stayed put
Right.
and you've made yourself miserable, right? I mean, because there is so much happiness and there is so much good in education. And then people are like, well, what about the schools that are bad? Everybody's just going to leave them. I hate that, and I hate that for those kids. But there are other kids who need you too. Like where you can be happy and the kids need you there too.
All kids need.
All kids need good teachers. And most importantly, kids need happy teachers. So if you're staying at a school that you're miserable at, like you said, the kids know.
Yeah.
They know. They can sense the energy. So anyways, okay, we're now at your fourth school.
Yeah.
Yes. So
We're here in the journey.
we are at my happy place, and all of the teachers at this school, it's again like a unicorn school. They're all happy to be there. Everybody has a bad day, but for the most part, every teacher that is at my school loves teaching.
And it's still hard, I'm sure.
Yes, teaching is hard. Teaching's hard enough as it is, and I think I said that this summer at Get Your Teach On. Like, it's hard enough to be a teacher. You don't need to be somewhere where everyone's negative, and it's hard to be happy when everyone around you is like sucking your happiness out and away.
Yeah.
But my school, everyone is so happy. Everyone likes to collab. Like, we have 1st grade and 5th grade reading buddies, and we'll like find time. And it's more about the projects and like, let's teach kids how to learn. And
That hands-on experience.
And the
To
hands-on
connect
experience.
what you're teaching
Yes.
to something that they're going to remember.
And it's just so much fun. And I feel like I didn't know that I wanted project-based learning
Yeah, I
until
love
I
PBL.
got
Yeah.
into a school that was really focused on PBL. And now I'm like, this is what I've been looking for.
Awesome, man.
And it's so fun.
You didn't know the name of what you were
No.
looking for your unicorn, but that was
Yes,
that
that's
was for,
what I
that might not be
wanted.
for everyone. They might be like, oh no, but that
Yeah.
is what thrives you as an educator.
Yes.
And also, I love this summer. You said the people around you. You were like, oh my gosh, your principal. You're like, I'm so happy that I found a place, and she flipped that immediately and said, no, we are so happy that we found you. And I thought that was so powerful. Like almost like stopped me in my tracks because. If you don't have an administrator that is celebrating you for what you are doing for kids and the impact that you're making, then you need to find someplace there is, because they exist
I agree.
everywhere. I have found many that have done that for me, and I'm so grateful for them. I know Hope and Wade, they've talked to many times. We've had their former administrator on here on you need to find someone that is celebrating you for the incredible things you're doing, because they see the results and they take time to see what you're doing and why it matters and what the impact it has on kids.
And after winning Gold Star, I think I got maybe 50 messages on either Instagram or TikTok that was like, thank you so much for sharing.
Wow.
I really connected with what you said, which is so sad that there were so many teachers that are like, I'm really unhappy where I am. And I said the same thing to everyone, find a different school.
Yeah.
Because there is a school out there. Like, it took me 4 schools to find an admin and a staff and parents and students that really loved me and loved what I wanted to do. But like, it's out there. And if you know that teaching is what you're passionate about and is your calling, like, you deserve yourself to do that. It's like, you owe it to yourself to find the school that you need.
I just don't understand how an administrator would see you, just even like what you're saying right now, and be like, oh my God, what? No, stay.
Like, you would
the
be
energy and the enthusiasm and the effort that you're putting in. That's what we want.
You would be the dream
hire.
teacher.
That's a top
Yeah.
hire. That is a top
Yes.
hire, because I've been in many interviews
my
for
gosh.
teachers, for staff, and you don't find in Atkins. You don't
that
find
is
people that
so-
are
oh my
hungry
goodness.
for this profession. You find people that are like,
Yes.
what's in it for me? What can you offer me? And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is teaching. It's not about you. It's about the kids.
Yeah. You get a
an
smile.
anomaly in education.
Maybe
Yeah.
a flower. I come home with crayons in my pocket, and I didn't even use crayons that day, so I'm not sure like what. But no, I do love my school, and I love the staff. And I mean, yes, teaching, we get up early, but I love going to work.
Yeah.
And that was something that in the beginning of last year, I told my principal, I was like, I've had 4 really rough years. Like, COVID was rough, and then back to back, I had rough years with admin and staff and parents, and it was just not going my way. I straight up told her, I was like, if I have a bad year, then this is the universe telling me that like, maybe I do need to find something else to do. So I'm just being very open and honest with you about that. She was in my classroom once a week. She'd send me an email, hey, checking in on you. Like, I'd love to come see a lesson that you're doing. And when admin comes in your room, your first thought is like, oh my God, what did I do? Make sure they're on their best behavior. But she wanted to come in and like help in the room. She
As
wanted
it
to
should
be,
be.
As it should be. Get
Yes.
to know you. Get to
She
know
wanted
your
to
students,
come in-
and be
yeah.
the support.
She wanted to be a second teacher in the room, not someone who was going to sit in the back and take notes.
awesome.
And that was so wonderful, especially because I had one principal not come in my room, and I had one principal come in my room with like yellow slips every time. So to have something that was positive was so lovely.
Okay, Emily, I don't want you to go any further, because this is supposed to be just one episode, but this is too juicy and too good. I'm like on the edge of my seat. Like, we're not even there yet. Only school number 3. So we're going to leave the audience with a little cliffhanger here. We're going to come back next week for a part 2. So do not reveal the secrets yet. All the things on your journey to thriving. I feel this is like a memoir of Emily
write a
Atkins.
book.
You should just
You
like
can turn the episode into a
just
book.
get
AI,
AI to like transcribe this and turn
Like
it
a
into your
coffee
like
table book.
self-memoir.
Yeah.
It could look really good right here on the coffee table, but
like
don't
it.
give it away yet. But for those listening, Emily's going to be back next week with part 2 of this episode, but let them know where they can find you, connect with you, maybe even follow you on social media until they get to hear the rest of your story next week. Let them know where they can follow you.
Yeah, on Instagram and TikTok, I am Miss_Atkins.
Awesome. Well, Emily will be back for part 2.
You don't
want to
miss it.
You are not going to want to miss it. We are just
It's
getting
really
good. I'm
good.
going to make some popcorn for part 2 so we can get into it. But thank you all for watching another episode of Flipside. New episodes release every Monday. Next Monday, Emily's going to be right back here with part 2 of Rockstar Teachers Thriving or Hiding. And I know it's about to get good. So you're not going to want to miss next week's episode. Also, you can watch it on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. But until then, we will catch you on the
Flip side. Bye,
guys. See you
everybody.
next week.